amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, November 28th, 2018, getting down toward the end of the month, getting into the holiday shopping season here. And first of all, I want to say thanks to everybody who sent in emails expressing their concern over Claire. And basically, the backstory on that is over the Thanksgiving holiday, she took a bad fall in the bathroom. And it was severe enough where we went to the hospital for x-rays and so forth, which they're saying they didn't find anything broken, but she's bruised some of her ribs, and so she's been in a great deal of pain. She's doing a little better today, but obviously takes a little bit of care, and had to basically take care of her again yesterday. But we're back here, we're live. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone when you call on in. So let's get on into it. A lot of stuff going on around the world, and it looks like it's getting really, really dicey. And a lot of people are paying attention now to the Kerch Strait incident between Russia and Ukraine. And of course, the Western corporate media, oh, it's all the fault of Russia. It's clearly Russia's being aggressive. How dare they seize those ships? Well, the Azov Sea is Russia's territorial waters, and other countries are allowed to sail in there, but they have to follow a certain protocol. They have to basically radio the Russian authorities and say, hi, we're going to be sailing through the Kerch Strait. We're on our way to this particular port. The Ukrainian ships did not do that. They basically just sailed through the Kerch Strait and behaved in a very obvious aggressive manner. And it clearly was a provocation. But the media is trying to make, oh, see, Russia's misbehaving. Oh, bad Russia, no vodka. And the propaganda is really cranking up about this. So basically, there were these two gunboats and a tugboat, and the ships were seized by Russia due to the lack of a reply to a lawful demand to stop. So that's another thing that these Ukrainian ships did. When they were challenged by the Russian authorities, they refused to stop. They tried to evade. So everyone's talking about brink of war, brink of war, brink of war, brink of war. And even Putin was chiming on in, saying that the propaganda is just so thick. He's saying basically Kiev could get away with eating babies, and the corporate media would find some way to make it sound like it was a good thing. So, Putin's obviously out there trying to make light of it, trying to keep it tapped on down here. But President Poroshenko is out there saying there's a threat of a full-scale war with Russia. Now, of course, he's been screaming imminent invasion by Russia since he came to power back in 2014. And this may be an effort to bolster his chances at the polls, which is coming up soon, or if the poll numbers turn against him, to declare a state of emergency and cancel the elections altogether. Everybody's playing hardball with all of this. But Poroshenko is out there saying there's a military buildup, there's a military buildup, Russia's coming to get us. And everybody knows who the aggressor is in this. Pepe Escobar is out there saying that the Kerch Strait chaos looks more like a cheap ploy by desperate neocons. And he's basically pointing on out that when the Ukrainian Navy sent the tugboat and 2 small gunboats to force their way through the Kerch Strait, it knew in advance the Russian response would be swift and merciless. Because if you look at the Kerch Strait, it is very narrow. It's a very narrow channel. They've got observers on both sides. This radar covers it as well. And, Russia basically keeps an eye on what's happening there. So, Ukraine definitely provoked this. And the Kerch Strait connects the Sea of Azov with the Black Sea, and to reach Mariupol, which is a key city in the Sea of Azov, very close to the dividing line between Ukraine's army and the pro-Russian militias in Donbass, the Ukrainian Navy needs to go through the Kerch. So what were they trying to do? Are they trying to call it a freedom of navigation exercise, or was it a trial to see if they could just get on through to that dividing line between Ukraine and Donbass to open up a new front? We're really not sure, but it is a dangerous situation. Over at Russia Insider, they're saying that the US, Europe, and NATO risk an all-out war by backing Kiev. And NATO's definitely talking about war. We know from yesterday that Ukraine did this in full consultation with NATO. They had NATO's, I guess you could call it permission or guidance or assessment. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network, and we are talking about the Kerch Strait incident here. But you've got the US and the EU and NATO. They're out there screaming Russian aggression, Russian aggression. The evidence is clearly the contrary. Ukraine violated Russia's territorial waters, sailed into the Azov Sea without making a formal request to say, we're coming into this area, we need to go up to this part of the coastline. So it was an intentional provocation, and NATO is now ramping up the rhetoric by suggesting that the Kerch Bridge, which Russia has built over the Kerch Strait, is a threat to Ukraine sovereignty. Now, the bridge does not actually touch Ukraine, it touches Crimea, but NATO is back to that situation of treating Crimea like it's still part of Ukraine, even though the Crimean people voted in a referendum to secede from Ukraine and then voted in a second referendum to merge with the Russian republics. So NATO is still out there. And of course, from their point of view, this is a military issue. Ukraine shares a near 1,500-mile land and sea border with the Russian Federation. This is the longest western frontier with the country, right up on the edge of Russia. So is NATO getting ready to try and put another move on Crimea to fortify that border, to continue to threaten and provoke Russia? Maybe. And it looks like Russia may be getting ready to take steps in its own defense. Apparently, Russia is deploying the S-400 missiles to Crimea. Now, Germany has, through their foreign minister, Heiko Maas, has offered to mediate between Ukraine and Russia regarding the ongoing crisis, although many in the German government are saying Berlin should just step on in to help Kiev militarily. So everybody's already picking up sides on this situation here. Now, story coming on Sputnik News, Trump may not have his planned meeting at the G20 with Putin over the Kerch Strait incident. And that might actually have been a major objective of this. And it wouldn't be the first time that a planned meeting between American and Russian heads of state were intentionally sabotaged. Back when John F. Kennedy was president, he was starting to make nice with the Soviet Union. That's something the hardliners in both governments did not like. And he planned to have a meeting with Khrushchev, and just in time to blow that all up, Francis Gary Powers U-2 was shot down or brought down over the Soviet Union. And it was used by the hardliners to say, see, you cannot trust the United States of America, and the deal was called off. So that may be a big part of why this was done. But we'll see what's going to happen in the near future. But again, everybody is trying to exploit the situation for their own agenda. Okay, now, getting on down to Syria, the U.S. military is now saying that they're unable to take out the remaining ISIS fighters in their last stronghold because they've tunneled in. They're hiding in tunnels. And the U.S. military says they think there are about 3,000 ISIS fighters, but again, they're underground. So this Army Colonel Sean Ryan, who's a spokesman for Operation Inherent Resolve, came out with an estimate of 2,000 ISIS fighters remaining in their last enclave in Syria. It says it's a rough number. It's not like they can watch through a satellite as they go in and out of a door and count them. But they are dispersed. They're spread out. Now, is the U.S. getting ready to say, okay, our Operation Inherent Resolve is over? Or are they laying a case for escalation of going on in to dig the ISIS fighters out of the tunnel, which is a very, very dangerous form of combat. Those of you who are old enough to remember Vietnam, the North Vietnamese built huge networks of tunnels, and cleaning them out was a very, very dangerous activity for U.S. forces. Now, as you know, the other day, there was a chemical weapon attack carried out in the Aleppo province by rebels linked to Al-Qaeda in the nearby Idlib province. And apparently this attack with chlorine gas left over 100 civilians hospitalized. Now, have you noticed how the corporate media and the White House haven't said anything about this? Oh boy, when it was something that could be blamed on Assad, that was a top story here. And now you have the rebels being caught carrying out these chemical weapons attacks, which are banned under international law. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal at all. So the Trump administration is mum on Syria. Something else they're mum on as well. The U.S. has now been at war in Afghanistan for 17 years, and more of our service members have been killed in that country. And a lot of people are saying, why are we still there? This is an article that came on out from 12160. Why are we there? It's been 17 years. Thousands of lives have been lost. And people need to ask, what are we fighting for at this point? Now, we all know what's really been going on. It's an oil pipeline right of way and a cheap supply of opium. But that's not something the government can tell the American people. So the American people have to stand up and say, why are we there? 17 years. It's longer than America's involvement in World War I and World War II put together. It's clear we cannot force this country to bend to our will and adopt our way of life. It's time to bring the troops home, rather than having them stand around guarding those opium poppies. Now, Donald Trump, he tends to say a lot of contradictory things here. And apparently, Trump is now talking about saying that maybe it's time for the United States to pull out of the Middle East. Although protecting Israel would be one reason for us to remain. Well, Israel doesn't need protection. They've got a very potent military, which you paid for, and they have nuclear weapons. They don't really need U.S. protection. That's just an excuse to keep the U.S. forces in the Middle East that Trump obviously hopes the American people will go for. And Trump is defending his decision to stand by the Saudis on the theory that they provide a counterbalance to Iran, and without them, Israel would be in a lot more trouble. That's simply flat out not true. Iran is not in the business of invading other countries. That's what Israel does. That's what the United States does. So we'll see what's going to happen. Meanwhile, down in Israel, the occupation authorities have expropriated almost 70 acres of Palestinian land in the Jordan Valley and West Bank. This happened yesterday, according to Shahab News Agency. The land is owned by the Roman Catholic Church, specifically the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, in the villages of Bardala and Taysir. And the Palestinians, residents living on the property, fear that the expropriation is the forerunner to their exclusion for security reasons, which is a euphemism used by Israel to ethnically cleanse the land prior to the expansion of illegal settlements. I imagine that the Vatican is probably going to have something to say about that. Now, the other day we were talking about how Airbnb had dropped listings for rental properties in the illegal settlements in Israel, the West Bank. And the Anti-Defamation League got on their high dudgeon and wrote a letter to the CEO of the Airbnb filled with all kinds of bogus claims. And they made this claim here that BDS has worked around the world to isolate and delegitimize the state of Israel. The ADL said the predominant drive of the BDS campaign and its leadership is not criticism of policies, but the demonization and delegitimization of Israel. Well, that's flat out not true. If you go on over to the BDS website, in its own word, it works to end international support for Israel's oppression of Palestinians and pressure Israel to comply with international law. BDS criticizes those Israeli policies that contravene international law. So ADL went on to say basically that BDS campaigns promote a biased and simplistic approach to the complex Israeli-Palestinian conflict and presents this dispute over territorial and nationalistic claims as the fault of only one party, Israel. Well, again, that's a little bit inaccurate. When Israel was created, both the United Nations and the government of Israel itself promised these people, the Palestinians, they were going to have a right of return, and it's been denied them. And Israel keeps on grabbing more and more of their land. It's building illegal settlements. And I could go on, and this whole letter is linked to the front of what really happened. But this letter is full of intentional, misleading statements to try and make it look like, Israel is a victim in all of this. Oh, poor Israel, poor us, those nasty Palestinians and BDS. They're trying to delegitimize Israel. It is Israel's actions that delegitimize it. It is Israel's refusal to abide by United Nations resolutions that delegitimizes it. It is Israel's refusal to abide by international law that delegitimizes it. Israel's doing this to themselves. It's not BDS, and it's not the Palestinians. Meanwhile, speaking at a Likud party meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that no settlement will be evacuated as long as he's prime minister. So he's basically saying there will be no surrendering of land, no right of return. And it kind of makes you wonder, what is Trump's deal of the century actually going to look like? It's basically one-sided. Palestine gives up everything. Israel gives up nothing. And there's a report floating around that Donald Trump is going to, as part of this deal, recognize Israel's sovereignty over the goal line. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back after these shoes.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this.
We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And for those of you who would like to support Republic Broadcasting, and your support is needed and greatly appreciated, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302. And that's in Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during normal business hours, extension 3 at all other times. Okay. So, getting on back to the news, getting on back to Israel here. Apparently, Israel is moving very rapidly to take control of East Jerusalem. Now, remember, when Israel was first created, Jerusalem was declared by the United Nations to be an international city to be shared by 4 of the world's major religions. And Israel has never gone along with that. They want all of the city for themselves. And right now, the area of contention is East Jerusalem, which is supposed to be the Muslim quarter. And they're basically trying to either buy up or expropriate the land. They're arresting the East Jerusalem officials. And apparently on the 21st of this month, Israel's High Court gave the green light to evict 700 Palestinian residents of the Silwan neighborhood from land they've lived on for decades. And basically, the government, back in 2002, transferred ownership of the homes of these 70 Palestinian families to 3 individuals closely associated with Atarat Kohanim, a right-wing Israeli settler organization focused on taking Palestinian land in Jerusalem. And they did it using a law where Israel government can seize possession of what they consider to be abandoned Palestinian properties. Well, these properties weren't abandoned, but Israel's taken the position that the families living there can't document that they are the legal owners. So it's a land grab here. Over in Yemen, the Save the Children charity are estimating that up to 85,000 children have died from starvation over there. And it may be a conservative estimate. It's based on UN data. And the hunger has affected more than 1.3 million children. So there could actually be a lot more deaths out there. But that's what Save the Children is saying. It's 85,000. This war in Yemen is not a war. It is a massacre. It is a genocide, if you will. And it's just war crimes. Now, Yemen is the Arab world's poorest country, and for 4 years now, it's been ravaged by this bloody conflict between the Houthis and supporters of Yemen's internationally recognized government, meaning the imposed puppet regime. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has apparently vetoed a United Nations Security Council resolution that was calling for a limited ceasefire in Yemen, increased humanitarian aid. The Trump administration has said they're concerned about angering Saudi Arabia. and that the U.S. cannot support a resolution at the moment. Well, what's really going on here, this isn't about angering Saudi Arabia. I mean, Saudi Arabia, at least the Crown Prince ought to be feeling very grateful right about now. This is not Saudi Arabia's war. This is a U.S. proxy war. Saudi Arabia is doing the bidding of the United States. And the goal, again, is to slam down the people of Yemen and get them to accept this imposed government from outside. Puppet rule, foreign puppet rule, a junta. They call it an internationally recognized government. You know, governments basically are picked by the people who live in the country. Other nations don't get to come in and say, this is a good government and this is not a good government, and we're going to make you accept this government through military force. But that's what regime change is all about. Now, the U.S. went in and did a regime change on Yemen several years back, and the people of Yemen did not like living under foreign puppet rule, and they got together and they kicked the puppet government out. That's who the Houthis are, the people of Yemen who want to run their own country their own way. And so the United States, using Saudi Arabia as a front because of the growing resistance to more wars than the American people, basically went back on in there to just smash the place and say, you will accept and love your foreign puppet rulers. Anyway, we got to take another break here for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. Airoutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to Airoutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at Airoutfitting.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're still talking about Israel and BDS. Interestingly enough, out in California at Pitzer College, the faculty have voted to pass 2 motions providing support for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement for Palestinian rights. And I think what's going on, as you know, Israel has been spending a huge amount of money to lobby on college campuses for people to support Israel and oppose BDS. I think it's actually angering people. This idea that Israel thinks they can come onto a college campus and just buy people's allegiance. Because it does seem like the more of this lobbying they do, the less result they're getting here. Anyway, in the second motion they voted over at Pitzer, they're suspending their academic exchange program with the University of Haifa until Israel stops restricting entry based on ancestry or political speech and adopts policies granting visas for exchanges to Palestinian universities on a fully equal basis as it does to Israeli universities. All right, so we're going to see what's going to happen here. Now, today, there's a classified U.S. Senate briefing by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Secretary of Defense James Mattis on U.S. relations with Saudi Arabia. And for some reason, CIA Director Gina Haspel has been prohibited from attending. So I don't know what's going on with that. And it may have to do with the fact that Gina Haspel's CIA earlier this month said, yeah, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered Khashoggi's killing. So keeping her out of the hearing may be a display of Trump's temper, or it may simply be that Pompeo and Mattis have gone in with the official Trump version of reality, and they don't want anybody in there saying there may be something else going on. But it is, in fact, really grating on a lot of people how Trump is clearly covering for the Saudis on this matter, especially after the way they went after Russia over the mere suspicion of involvement in the Skripal case. So, anyway, now Donald Trump said he's never actually done business with Saudi Arabia. He doesn't have financial ties to them. Mother Jones said that's not entirely accurate. At one point, the Trump organization did manage a hotel in Saudi Arabia. The other matter is that Saudi Arabia were political supporters of Donald Trump back in 2016. So they may just be yanking on that leash right now here. Over in China, the government has unveiled plans to start construction on a new domestically produced aircraft carrier. This will be the third carrier in the People's Liberation Army Navy fleet. And apparently this was announced to celebrate the 6th anniversary of China's first carrier, the Liaoning, and so they're starting to crank them out. All right, let's take a phone call now. Dustin from New Jersey, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
That's what happens when you got 1.2 billion people. You can crank out a lot of stuff real quick. That's why we're in trouble.
Yeah, when you have, well, it's not just the people, it's having the manufacturing capacity, the steel mills and the factories. And we've let all that stuff go away.
And it ain't coming back. GM's a signal for that. Thanks, Trump. Hey, Mike, art of the deal. It's art of the steal. I'm not voting for Trump. I mean, I don't think he's even going to run again, according to Roger Stone, if you believe that. Roger Stone come out and says he's not going to run for re-election, which would mean, why do they just go after the deep state? Then, you know what I mean? Like, go all out. If you ain't going to run for re-election, it ain't going to matter, you know, if that's a true story.
Well,
his
it
art of
may
the
be a
deal is
true
art of the
story, but,
steal.
you know, Trump has turned his back on the people who put him in that Oval Office, and that's not the actions of somebody who's seriously thinking about running again. I do know that they have an official Trump 2020 campaign set up, and they've got a campaign manager. But Trump doesn't, I agree with Roger. Trump does not act like a president who's really seriously thinking about running again. And we're hearing all this talk within the GOP leadership of who they could run in the primaries against him.
Yeah, like I said, Mike, with you mentioned the Israeli thing. Trump is going to give the best deal to his backers, and that's Israel and Saudi Arabia. You know, F the Palestinians. He's not going to do anything for them. You know, he's not going to do anything for, you know, he's going to do that for Israel and Saudi Arabia for his order. Remember what he did with Gaddafi?
Yes.
He gave him that great deal. Then remember he laughed how he ripped them off? This is the dude we I mean, you look back now and you're like, geez, this is, you know, we knew we had two bad choices. You know, but Mike, I don't know what's going on in the White House, but like, did you see what Mattis came out and said about Russia? How dare they break this treaty with Ukraine? Like, you know, how could they break a treaty? I'm like, he had to do that on purpose because, wait a minute, we broke the ABM treaty and the INF treaty. I mean, you can't
we
make
pulled
this
out
up.
of the Iran deal here. And again, it's another double standard. But yeah, I saw Mattis come out from that meeting, and the rhetoric is there. You know, bad Russia, bad Russia, bad Russia. And I hope they're not seriously thinking of starting a war with Russia over the Azov Sea, because that thing is just going to spin out of control. And it's not going to be a happy outcome.
Well, you do know they're bringing in another battalion of S-400s in addition to the three they got there already. So
Yeah.
that's 4 or 5 they got in there. And then you know they're actually, it's there already, the BAL anti-ship system. I saw 3. That's 20, that's 8 per truck. That's 24 BAL that's KH-35 anti-ship missile. So, I mean, they're bringing in firepower. And I don't know if you saw that British ex-general. He says he said Britain needs to send a ship to, like, you know, to the Azov. I'm like, Azov Sea is like a shallow water.
Well, no,
it
has enough depth to support warships and cargo ships. I mean,
I thought it had a lot of shallow areas where it'd be pretty hard to, you know, once you go from the Black Sea into that, I thought it was more shallow areas. It's very more.
Well, there are shoals all over the Mediterranean, and obviously you keep an eye out for those on your sea charts and you know, your depth gauge. But no, there's a lot of commerce that goes on in the Sea of Azov. But the big issue is going to be what exactly is the game plan here? Was this done to derail the Trump-Putin meeting? Is this really a prelude to open conflict between NATO and Russia? Is this Poroshenko's desperate grab to stay in power? Or a combination of all three?
And remember, he only got 30 days. So that's 30 days. I don't know if he can extend it or he's got to go back to Parliament. But he only got 30 days to pull whatever stunt he's going to do because his election is not till March.
Yeah, that's true. He'd have to go back to Parliament to get another declaration of martial law or a national emergency, which means he could very well send another ship into the Azov Sea and provoke another confrontation with Russia. And as long as you've got the Western media are blaming Russia for all of this, it very easily could escalate to a war.
Well, I know, like I said, the British have sent a survey ship / intelligence gathering ship.
Yeah.
But I know they're getting pushed to send something else, so like a frigate or something. So, like I said, Mike, we're on the verge because like you always said, any little thing can happen, and it's just going to touch off Inferno, and eventually, kill us all.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. And this didn't have to happen, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, this whole thing has been just a ruse. This whole thing shouldn't have happened in the first place. This Russia collusion, just going back, this is what we've become. I mean, it's just sad. These people are bringing us to the grave, Mike.
Yep.
That's all I got to say, Mike. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot there, Dustin. And yes, unfortunately, the people who are in these positions of power, leaders of nations and everything, ordinary citizens are just assets, game pieces. They don't emotionally connect with us. They don't really care what suffering war brings to the general population here. Anyway, over in North Korea, they're accusing the Trump administration of trying to stoke a confrontation instead of promoting peace efforts by calling for a UN Security Council meeting to discuss human rights in the country. And yeah, that does seem like a play to derail the possibility of any talks with North Korea. So North Korea's UN Ambassador Kim Song wrote in a letter, reported in the Associated Press, the United States and other unnamed countries are trying to employ all possible wicked and sinister methods to hold a council meeting on December 10th and have UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet address it. So, yeah, it's another way of bringing more pressure on North Korea. Yesterday, we were talking about, actually on Monday, my apologies, we were talking about how the Pentagon failed its first ever audit. And it was being reported that some $6 trillion can't be accounted for. And I expressed at that time my concern that number might not even be accurate. And that's sort of bolstered by this article that came out of The Nation. And it's basically talking about all these private firms that were hired to audit the Pentagon. And they basically said they couldn't complete the job. The DoD's financial records have so many bookkeeping deficiencies, irregularities, and errors, a reliable audit is simply impossible, meaning they may have misplaced even more than the $6 trillion that we're being told. All right, let's turn to the, apparently the Senate has advanced the bill to yank U.S. support for Saudi-led forces in Yemen. This is considered a rebuke to the White House. There's going to be a fist fight over that one, except that Trump ultimately does have the veto power on that one. And I don't think Congress has the votes to override the veto, but we'll see what's going to happen there. Yeah, Trump isn't acting like a president who's thinking about running again. He stopped caring what people think about him. Anyway, as you know, down in Mississippi, yesterday they had a runoff election from the midterms, and Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith won the runoff, defeating Democrat Mike Espy after drawing intense scrutiny for comments during the 4-week runoff campaign. Hyde-Smith had 54% of the vote to Espy's 46%, 95% of the precincts reporting when AP called the race. And the result means Republicans will hold a 53 to 47 majority in the Senate next year. And it makes Hyde-Smith the first woman elected to represent Mississippi in the Senate. Now, she's going to have to run for re-election for a full term in 2020. after being appointed to fill Thad Cochran's seat earlier this year. Now, not everybody, of course, is happy with Cindy. And apparently over at CNN, one of their regulars, Tim Wise, went on a rant. Now, Wise is billed as an anti-racist activist, but he did not take the Democrats' loss last night very well. And he literally said on the air, the North should have burned the South to the ground. Now, another little aspect about this election was that a bunch of nooses were found hanging off trees near the Mississippi State Capitol. And, of course, everybody said, hate crime, you know, white supremacists, and so forth. Apparently, it turned out the nooses were put up by a Democratic group to send a message to Republican Senate candidate Cindy Hyde-Smith. Now, at that point, without the white bashing, the corporate media kind of dropped that story. Over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is expressing concern over the fact that Maxine Waters is going to be the new chair of the House Financial Services Committee. And as you know, Judicial Watch has already filed an ethics complaint against Maxine for fomenting violence, encouraging her drones, if you will, to confront Trump cabinet people in public, which has actually happened. So Judicial Watch basically came up with this article saying that Maxine Waters has this long documented history of poor ethical and moral fitness. And apparently she has been caught using her office for financial gain for herself and her friends. And now she's going to be put in charge of the check register. And so Tom Fitton is saying that, yeah, this is not a good idea. It does seem, though, that we do have a lot of crooked people in government. It's how they got into government. It's how they stay in government. Anyway, we're off to the Bill and Hillary show. They launched their 13-city speaking tour up in Canada. They ranted on Donald Trump for being part of a Saudi cover-up, which I think is justified. As expected, most of the seats in the venue were empty. People are not buying these tickets. Okay, we're going to take another break here for commercials, and we'll be back after these few words.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $400? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsite.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about the Bill and Hillary show. They started up in a Canadian hockey arena. And looking at the picture, lots of empty seats. Lots of empty seats. And we've been hearing a couple of weeks ago that the ticket sales have been lackluster, and there'd actually been talk of calling this whole thing off. But I guess Hillary wanted her little moment out there in the public limelight, which didn't really go so well because apparently she suffered one of her famous massive coughing fits up there on the stage. So anyway, story just now coming on in from the Political Insider. Apparently, President Trump, in an interview with the New York Post, has said he's open to the possibility of issuing a presidential pardon to Paul Manafort, his former presidential campaign manager. Now, Manafort, of course, is in prison after being found guilty on multiple financial crimes. He reached a plea deal earlier this year with Robert Mueller, the special counsel investigating possible collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government, or the lack thereof, as it were. But Mueller's probably not going to be very happy with that one. This story kind of leapt out at me, and the reason it did is you keep on, can't we find better people than this to be in the government? And this is a story that came on out from governmentslaves.info, and apparently there was this communications director for the Arkansas Democratic Party who has now been fired and arrested from his job as special events coordinator for Pulaski County Youth Services. Apparently they caught him distributing child pornography, and apparently he was smoking meth out of a glass meth pipe while at work, during work hours. And apparently he got caught in this undercover sting where there was this video conferencing software that apparently is favored by pervs. And so they caught this guy. This is a communications director for the Arkansas Democratic Party. Democrats can pick some real winners here. Anyway, as you know, one of the big issues that is still sort of festering in the background is Obamagate. And on Monday, I was making the comment that the more we dig into it, the more and more Obamagate is a justifiable label, because it is looking like Watergate. And there's a fight brewing over the declassification of all these FISA documents. And basically, well, we're going to take a break for station identification. We'll come back to the story after these few words.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $400? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. So we're talking about this story where Obamagate, which is on a back burner, at least as far as the corporate media is concerned, there's this argument over the declassification of these FISA warrants, or the paperwork that led to the FISA warrants. Interestingly enough, the Australian government, British intelligence, have waded on into this argument, and they don't want Trump to declassify the Obamagate documents because they were part of that spy network that was being set up by Obama, and they don't want that to come on out. So apparently MI6 chiefs are secretly battling Donald Trump to stop him from publishing this classified information linked to the Russian election meddling investigation. And this was a story on the Sydney Morning Herald last week. Now, the British intelligence chiefs are falling back on the old standby. If this stuff is declassified, sources will be exposed, methods will be known. They just don't want to be publicly exposed as having gotten in on this operation to spy for political gain, which is exactly what it was. Now, Trump, on the other hand, is not letting this go away. And I can imagine that if it were up to him, he would declassify those documents. But apparently, in an audio recording obtained by Daily Mail, President Trump told Corey Lewandowski and David Bossie in an interview, if the shoe were on the other foot and the same thing happened to him, meaning Obama, it would be treason. And the president says that he, as far as he is concerned, he believes Obama knew the then CIA chief and director of national intelligence was spying on members of his campaign. It is Richard Nixon and Watergate all over again. Apparently, Lewandowski and Bossie are in the process of writing a new book, Trump's Enemies and How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency. That'll be an interesting one to see when it comes on out. And apparently, the authors claim to have documents on the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation on meetings between the FBI and top executive branch members. Everybody's spying on everybody. They're even spying on themselves over there. So, they're hoping to document the fact that this did go all the way up to Obama. And it's Watergate all over again here. Where's the Washington Post when you really need it? All right, so let's talk about the economic news because it's not particularly good. General Electric was founded in 1892, and it was once one of the most powerful corporations on Earth. And right now, it's hovering on the edge of bankruptcy. General Motors was founded in 1908, and at one point, it was the largest automaker on Earth. Now, it is closing a whole bunch of assembly lines and laying off approximately 14,000 workers mere weeks before Christmas, we should point out. So if the U.S. economy really is booming, these companies should be thriving, but they're not. What's going on at General Motors and General Electric, retail in general, the U.S. economy is heading into a rough spot. All right, let's take a phone call here from Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. First of all, about General Motors, what they need to do is, if I was president, I'd put a 25% tax on any General Motor car now coming into the United States from outside. I wouldn't necessarily put tariffs on Toyota and Hyundai and all that because they manufacture cars in this country too. The other thing is, I don't know if you heard today. I don't know if you covered because I just turned you on a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Made a statement, I believe, to the Washington Post, but this was another newspapers too, in which he said, he said, we're in the Middle East to protect Israel.
Yeah.
We don't need the oil anymore because we're self-sufficient. This is a disgrace. I mean, the country should be in uproar. Of course, I don't think there's any. I was at the gym before, and I didn't notice anything about it on the mainstream media there on the TV. So they're probably trying to keep it hush-hush. And I'll see what's later on. I'll start covering stuff around the net to see if the Duran says anything about it, or maybe next news. What's that called? No more news or something like that. Maybe the American back on what they might say about it. But this is a disgrace. I mean, we don't pay our taxes to defend Israel. We pay our taxes to defend the United States. That's what we have troops for. I wouldn't want. My son was for a few years was in the Air Force. He's out now, thank God. I would not want him to be risking his life. Just like when I was in the Army, I wouldn't want to be risking my life for another country that has nothing really that doesn't do anything for us, other than suck off our, I don't want to use bad words. It just sucks off of us,
Yeah.
Well, they do. They don't really serve much of a purpose.
Israel does not need the United States to defend itself. Okay. They have a very potent military, which you all paid for. They've got nuclear weapons, and everybody knows it. Nobody is going to mess with Israel. It's Israel that is constantly invading and messing with other countries.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're the ones that are starting stuff in Syria. They're the ones that, if the Russians hadn't put those S-300s in there, they'd probably still be attacking Israel. And yet, attacking Syria. And yet, we're risking possible World War III because Russia is involved here, and Russia's there at the invitation of Syria to defend Syria, who was, under Islamist and Israeli attack all these years.
Yes.
So, that's why Russia is there. So what are we doing? How are we tolerating this? This is absolutely crazy. I like Trump on certain things, but I have a lot of problems, especially with foreign policy. I have a lot of problems with Trump on foreign policy. And I think if you're going to impeach him, this is an impeachable offense. Not the stupid Russian code. This is real collusion. This is collusion with a foreign power that is not doing us any good. And if to put American troops in harm's way, not to mention all the money it costs to keep them there, because you want to defend Israel. Well, like you said, who can defend themselves anyway? This is a crime. They need to, somebody needs to call Trump out on this, but nobody seems to be doing that, either the left or the right. Like I said, I'll see you later on after you.
Well, one thought you might want to take away from here, and we mentioned this when we talked about it earlier in the day, is there are, pardon me, more and more voices that are saying it's time for the United States to get out of Syria. And maybe Trump is splashing around trying to find an excuse to keep our forces in Syria, even though we're not wanted there and the government that wants us to go. And so Israel makes a handy excuse. Oh, we have to stay in Syria. We've got to protect Israel from Syria, blah, 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 blah. That may be all that this really is.
Yeah, but Mike, excuse to who?
To the American people.
American people, I don't think are buying it. Yeah, but I don't think we, the American people, are buying it, except maybe some Jews, some Zionist Jews, not all. I certainly don't buy it. And some Zionist Christians who think that we got to have Armageddon there in Jerusalem so Jesus can come back there, sit in his throne, and govern a radioactive world. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. Those are the only people that support Israel. I don't think most people. Most people, I think, getting wiser and wiser that this is a leech. This country is a leech in us.
Yes.
They cause more problems than they solve, and they keep us and they keep us on war footing where we don't need to be in a war footing. Now the Ukraine is stuff. And by the way, you talk about people are it's anti-Semitic. You're talking anti-Semitic. Israel is now selling weapons to Nazis in Ukraine. This was another thing I was listening to. Who was on a net yesterday? I was going on certain things. They're selling weapons to the Ukraine. I think the Duran was talking about this. They're selling weapons to Ukraine. Okay,
yeah.
Who are governed basically by Nazis. This is crazy. And yet, if you criticize Israel, you're an anti-Semite, whatever that's supposed to be, because the real Semites, probably the real Israelis, the ancient Jews are probably more pure-blooded Palestinians than the Jews coming in from Europe, the Ashkenazi Jews coming in from Europe who are mixed with, the Semites, I don't know, what do you call those people, Khazarians?
Khazarians, yeah, and there's actually very little Hebrew DNA in the Khazarians because the only Hebrews who actually went to Khazaria from ancient Israel were recruited by the king when he basically declared Judaism the state religion. And so...
the Khazarians, they're Turks, really, aren't they? The Khazarians are really the Turks, if I'm not mistaken. Part of what would you
they're more
Turkey,
Central Asian.
Armenia.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's Turkey, right?
Well, no, it's more up
Armenian,
toward Russia and Georgia. Anyway, listen, Mark, I got to let you go. We're going to get back to the news here. And thank you for the phone call. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Okay, so we're talking about the economy. We're talking about big companies, iconic American companies like General Electric and General Motors are in serious, serious trouble because nobody has the money to buy their products. And nobody wants to whip out that plastic in these uncertain times. So President Trump, of course, is very angry with General Motors because it was basically a year ago when Trump assured America that the tax cuts meant that companies like General Motors would be able to bring back the jobs. And now, of course, GM is shutting down factories, and they're letting some 14,000 people go. And so Trump is basically calling for General Motors to pay back the federal bailout that they were given. $11.2 billion was given to General Motors. And Trump is also threatening to cut all the electric vehicle subsidies. But Donald, that $11.2 billion, that's not coming back. That's a write-off right there. That money is gone. It's already been spent. And if GM had $11.2 billion to return to you, they wouldn't be on the edge of bankruptcy. They wouldn't have to let all these people go. Anyway, as you know, we're coming up here on the G20 talks down in Buenos Aires. And everybody's getting ready to talk or not talk. As I reported earlier in the program, Trump is thinking about canceling his planned meeting with Putin over what happened in the Sea of Azov between Ukraine and Russia. And again, could have been that was what this was all about, getting Trump to stop talking nice to Russia. Meanwhile, China's ambassador was meeting with Trump's chief economic advisor, Larry Kudlow. And apparently, Kudlow came on out and said there's really no progress. You know, they're having pre-G20 talks right now, and they haven't yielded any progress. And unless something changes, the administration will move ahead with the next phase of tariffs. And Kudlow came on out and said things have been moving very slowly between the two countries, saying it's up to China to come up with new ideas to break the deadlock. And apparently Kudlow was echoing a report from the U.S. Trade Representative saying there hasn't been much of a change in China's approach. So it's stalemated, and all these people who are being economically harmed by this tariff war will go on being economically harmed. Now, this article coming out of Investment Watch blog is basically China is issuing a warning that a U.S. trade war, which is what this is turning into, could escalate into a Great Depression and possibly a world war. And they're saying there will be a showdown at the G20. Going to be a lot of fireworks down there. Now, the only good news is that right now, Donald Trump and Xi Jinping are scheduled to meet for a dinner meeting this coming Saturday. And hopefully, there might be the possibility of a breakthrough there. But it's going to be very, very tricky. I mean, Trump wants a breakthrough, but he's threatening more tariffs. China is looking at Trump's recent behavior and realizing that he's not necessarily a man of his word. And that's going to make things a little bit trickier as well. Vladimir Putin, as part of his run-up to going to the G20, responded to a comment from the U.S. administration about how, you know, Russia's trying to ditch the dollar. And Putin came on out and, according to Bloomberg, said, no, what's going on is we're not ditching the dollar. The dollar is ditching us. Because of all these punitive sanctions, it's just easier to go use other currencies, which, by the way, is what I said was going to happen when this whole sanctions and tariffs nonsense got going. That the United States was isolating itself politically and economically from the rest of the world. Sorry about that, I had to cough. So that's what's going on over here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. we are starting to see all over the world a slowdown in real estate sales. New housing is down. Pre-owned housing is down. Rentals are down. We're seeing it in the United States. We're seeing it in Canada. We're seeing it in Australia. We're seeing it in Great Britain. It is global. And it signals a global downturn in the economies of all these countries. Over at the New York Times, even Paul Krugman is saying that this next crisis will be worse than 2008. So just try and be prepared for it. Be ready for it here. Okay, as you know, China has been putting together this multi-billion-dollar initiative called the One Belt, One Road. And it's going to be a network of ports, railways, roads, and industrial parks linking through 65 countries, representing an estimated 60% of the world's population and a third of its economic output. So far, around 70 countries have signed a memorandum saying, yeah, we would like to be part of this. In Europe, countries like Poland and Greece have signed, but the project is starting to create anxiety that this will give China a lot of influence over a large chunk of the world. And so over in Spain, they have announced they will not sign. An official from the Spanish Prime Minister's office said they will not sign the initiative. All right, we got to take a break for commercial. I got to find out why my throat is acting up, and we'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customer. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think the supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Frontsight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Frontsight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. Tell them. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And not every media organization is ultra-leftist, although Fox clearly is going that way. There is a group called the Sinclair Broadcast Group, and they're conservative. And apparently they issued instructions to over 100 of their TV stations to air a segment that basically defended the use of the tear gas on the migrants at the border. And it's to basically counter the fact that the open borders people are trying to exploit the conflict. They say, oh, those poor people, these women and the children. Now, again, the people at the border are saying the vast majority of these migrants are military-age young men. And probably quite a few of them are MS-13 as well. But it's nice that the Sinclair Group is trying to bring some balance back into this. Meanwhile, over at Judicial Watch, they're calling for the interdiction of these caravans before they even get to the border. Why let them get to the border? Why let it build up to this confrontation? Just find a way, with the cooperation of the government of Mexico, to turn them around. Maybe help fortify Mexico's southern border, which, by the way, is a very impressive looking one. That's really where they should have been stopped, right there. Judicial Watch is also calling for an investigation on the organizers of the migrant caravan, because it's very obvious this was not just a spontaneous moment where 8,000 people in a Central American country all stood up and said, I got an idea. There's nothing on TV this afternoon. Let's walk to North America. Let's walk to the United States. They'll let us in. It'll be great. But we know that there's been tremendous amounts of logistic support, tents, food, water, all of that. Who paid for it all? Who put this thing together? Because whoever organized this is basically guilty of felony violations of Title VIII. And we do need to know what's going on, what the agenda really is. Is it to make Trump look bad? Is it to bring in more Democratic voters? Is it part of the plan of the New World Order, one world government, to blend everybody together? Is it all three? Probably. Over at the United Nations, they are once again reaffirming that refugees have a right to seek asylum in the United States. Now, this is a direct quote from their statement. It means that any person whose life is at risk in their country of origin must be able to access territory and request asylum in a safe country. And each asylum request should be considered individually. End quote. There are, of course, two issues here. One, this migrant horde approaching our border, they're not at risk of, their life is not at risk in their country of origin. That's not been documented. And Each asylum request should be considered individually. Yeah, it's going to be a long process. But interestingly enough, according to the United Nations, any refugees who walk into Israel would have to be accepted by them. And you will notice in all of this refugee here, migrant there, Israel remains relatively, shall we say, pure. They're fully on board for, the migration all over the globe, Europe, United States, but not Israel. So let's talk about what's going on in Great Britain, because we're coming up in little less than 2 weeks now on this so-called meaningful vote regarding Theresa May's Brexit deal. And apparently Theresa May has surrounded herself with a whole bunch of yes people who are saying, yes, it's going to work, we're going to be able to pull this off. But actual numbers being polled are saying she could suffer a 200-vote defeat in the Commons. And that, of course, would be a hammer blow to her position as Prime Minister. So we're going to see what's happening there. Now, Daniel Hannan is a member for the European Parliament for South East England, and he's out there saying he'd like to support Theresa May's plan, but he can't. It proposes a way of leaving the EU that's exactly the wrong way around. So, and he's saying that the big part is being able to relaunch Britain as a global trader. And the EU's been threatening embargoes. Now, Donald Trump said that when Brexit happened, he would immediately sign a trade deal with Great Britain. I certainly hope he keeps that one up. Anyway, I got to take another break here. Be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And my apologies for the coughing back there, but something got caught in my throat. I don't even know what it was. We're talking about Brexit, and we're coming up on this vote, this meaningful vote in the Commons 12 days from now. And it's obviously a contentious issue. The Remainers have been trying to find some way to sabotage this deal and undermine the will of the British voters, and that could be a very dangerous thing, because if you look at the way people in a lot of countries right now are protesting and rioting, the whole world is on edge. Ukraine, France, places like that. I think if Brexit is derailed or stopped, I think there will be violence in the streets. I don't want to see it, but I think it's a very, very real possibility. Now, speaking of France, Macron is slamming the people protesting the increase in fuel prices, which was part of a larger green agenda. And Macron is out there saying that he wants to close 50% of the nuclear plants and make France carbon-free by 2050. The two are obviously at cross purposes. And he's out there declaring he will not be forced into changing his policies by protests which are being led by thugs. So it's getting ugly over there. Now, part of the problem here is there has been a strike against the French oil refinery. And as a result, diesel is now in short supply, not just in France, all over Europe. And this refinery is the biggest one in France. So they're just closing it down. So anyway, all right. Now there was prolific French writer Renaud Camus coined the theory of the Great Replacement, and he told Breitbart London that these French protests are about more than the fuel prices. They're a grassroots reaction against the Davos elite who view working people as worthless human Nutella. And the other day when we were talking about this, I said you can push a population and treat them badly, and then all of a sudden it'll be one thing that sparks it off. And apparently the French people have been getting the impression that their government doesn't see them as people, doesn't respect them as human beings. We have a lot of that here as well. And pardon me. So this Mr. Camus was saying there is more substance to the Yellow Vest movement, which is supported by 77% of the French population. It's not just fuel taxes. It's about the lack of respect, general exchangeability, being treated by managerial politics like an object, a product. So there we are. Now, Emmanuel Macron himself wanted to be a player on the world stage and was out there grandstanding a lot, but these protests are working against him. They're showing the world that France isn't a well-managed country. And frankly, we're seeing that in many of these European Union nations where there is that push for further integration with Brussels and open borders. And I think a big part of what's going on all across Europe, again, does relate to those open borders. Because ordinary people, the ones who are already feeling like they're being treated like objects, they're fed up with it. Polls are showing all over. People are just fed up with the illegal immigrants, refugee problem. And they resent being forced further and further down that way. Now, Donald Trump has done something that I find to be absolutely appalling, and I'm trying to figure out what he ultimately is going to do with this. And I have a theory. Trump is trying to abrogate long-standing legal international treaties signed by previous U.S. presidents with sovereign Native American tribes. In other words, he's trying to take away their sovereignty. Now, the Trump administration is using a requirement that Medicaid recipients work in return for health benefits to deny American Native tribes the right to govern themselves as sovereign entities. The Trump administration is basically saying Native Americans are no longer a racial group, or rather a tribal nation. They are a racial group subject to federal law. Now, I can imagine the Native Americans are going to be very upset with this. So what is Trump really trying to do here? Well, if Trump is able to actually get withdrawal of their sovereignty through the Supreme Court, it means the land is now available for development and appropriation. And that could very well be what this is really all about, because I can't see a motive. I can't see any other motive for Trump to be doing this. No other American president has ever tried to revoke the sovereign independence of the Native American tribes. So, I don't know, it's another example of Trump just pulling out of deals and agreements and treaties. That's bad stuff. All right, let's get into some stuff a little bit lighter here. Apparently, Apple is slashing iPhone orders for the second time because sales are stalling. And apparently, demand for the iPhones is worse than previously thought. So Apple has issued a second cutback on iPhone orders as a result of weaker than expected demand for the high-end devices, according to Taiwan-based news site Digitimes. And that follows early reports of production cuts for the iPhone XR and XS. Now, the XR is the so-called low-end phone, and they're already cutting the price on that. It's too expensive. This economy cannot support something that expensive as a phone. Apple's still operating in that business model where people buy the latest and greatest when it comes on out, just so they can go around saying, I've got the latest and greatest. Can't do that in this day and age. It just doesn't work. Anyway. Okay, story out of the Daily Mail. Google is saying that 150 Play Store downloads have been discovered to have hidden malware. Now, the malware does not infect your Android phones. It infects your computer, your desktop, when you plug in your smartphone. So, got to get the anti-malware out there, run a security check here. What Claire and I do is we have the little wall chargers. So we're not constantly plugging our phones into the computer. It's only when we need to like update in iTunes or something. Plus, we don't do games. All right, apparently Google Maps has been targeted by criminals. And as you know, one of the things that Google Maps and these other websites that provide these services do, you can search for something. You can look for something like auto repair. And the map will come on up, and it'll put some dots on there and a bunch of names and addresses. Well, apparently what the scammers are doing is they're able to basically do a man-in-the-middle attack on your data stream. And when Google Maps is coming back, they will delete the legitimate business data and insert their own name, address, and phone number to get you to show up to someplace where you're going to be dealing with a would-be criminal. Okay. Apparently there was a little bit of an upset yesterday at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center where there was an active shooter alert. And at first the Navy came on out and said, no, it was an improper use of the alert system. And it sent out these false reports. Then later on they said it was some kind of a drill, but it was a false alarm here. This next story is one of the reasons why I do not like to go to doctors. And again, Daily Mail. Johnson & Johnson knowingly sold a faulty vaginal mesh implant that left tens of thousands of women in agony. And there's this new report that has come on out, and it basically involves leaked emails, internal emails from Johnson & Johnson. And they reveal executives at the company had been briefed. The product has flaws. It won't keep its flexibility. It can get extremely rigid. It can inflict serious pain and would be near impossible to remove. So this product was launched back in 2004, and a number of the staff tried to warn management, this is not a good product. And Johnson & Johnson management launched it, promoted it, and over the next 7 years, tens of thousands of women unwittingly followed their doctor's advice to undergo the operation that would change their lives. Now, it's one thing to have an accident, to say, oh, we should have looked closer. These people knew this product was going to cause pain. What were they thinking was going to happen? 3-4 years down the road, they're in pain. Oh, that's going to be good for the doctor. We'll figure out a way to get it out. We'll sell them another mesh, a new and improved mesh. But apparently there is a series of lawsuits, and I would like to see those people in management held personally accountable. I really would. Okay. The United Nations is still out there, along with saying refugees have a right to come into your home. They're still out there pushing climate change. And it just recently issued this report saying that the world has only 19 years left to disaster if drastic measures are not taken now. Of course, the global warming people have been saying that going back to the 1990s. Actually, earlier than that. If you read my ClimateGate article, it seems like every 5 to 10 years, oh, the world is entering an ice age, the world is boiling, the world is entering an ice age, followed by demands for money and obedience here. which is what this really is. The UN is coming on out saying, give us your money in obedience or you will die horrible deaths. That's what they're saying out here. Now, the reality is that we're in a period of global cooling. And contrary to the propaganda that was being thrown at us by the global warming cult, warming isn't the problem. Cooling is. One of the bits of creative Wikipedia editing that was going on by the global warming people was to try and downplay the fact that the Roman and medieval warming periods were actually times of great bounty and prosperity. So, story that came out of Lou Rockwell, basically saying, yeah, there's going to be cooling for a while now, and it could trigger famine. So, anyway, apparently they have a problem up on the International Space Station because apparently scientists have discovered 5 different varieties of Enterobacter, which is a bacteria, were found in the space station's toilet and exercise area. Now, obviously, they rode up to the space station with the various crews here. But the interesting thing is that these bacteria really like being in space. And that they're apparently mutating. And scientists are concerned about, could they mutate into a dangerous form? So they're going to have to be taking a look at that here. Okay. Now, as you know, last week, well, actually, yeah, over the weekend, NASA landed a new spacecraft on the planet Mars. And already the PC people are out there because NASA's public statements contains words like colonization and exploration, and the PC people out there, including American astronomer Lucianne Walkowicz, are saying we shouldn't be using those words. Those are not good words. They're not politically correct right now. How about looking at the data? That's what you sent the thing there for. So apparently there are PC people out there who are saying there are certain words you may not use when you're talking about space exploration. Like colonizing, settlement, frontier, exploring. Well, what do you call it when you go on out there in space? What would you call it? What PC word would you choose? But they want to make these outer space safe for the snowflakes. That's what's going on now. All right, we're going to take another break. For commercials, the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354, or visit MIG911.com.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we have a caller on the line, Tom in Philadelphia. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. How are you? This Johnson & Johnson thing, they're a real bunch of crooks. My wife had a bunch of that stuff put in her, and they just ran it and raved how good it was and how much it was better she was going to feel and all that. And it didn't take but a few years for that stuff to start causing problems, and she's in a lot of pain over it. So we went and saw some other doctors, got a hold of the attorneys that were handling the suits, and all they do is they give you a certain amount for, like, I guess, for pain and suffering and false advertising, whatever. And then if you want the really big money for all the, all the extensive pain and the inconveniences she's going to have, because they think it's caused neuropathy in her legs too. They think it's really messed up all her nerves. You have to go through the surgery before they'll give you any more. And the surgery, the doctors are recommending that she just grin and bear it, because the surgery could be worse than leaving it in. And some of the examinations they did, this looks like the stuff disintegrated and just spreading around her body internally.
Well, I mean, the idea that their own staff was warning management, this is going to be a problem down the road. And management apparently didn't care. They figured they were looking at early retirement, figured it'd be somebody else's problem. I don't know. I remember that horrible story where the Bayer Company had put together a hemophilia medication using some of that tainted blood from the Arkansas tainted blood scandal. Remember that whole story? And when it came on out, they had to stop selling the medication here because it was contaminated with HIV. Bayer turned around and sold it to other countries where there weren't legal prohibitions. They knowingly sold HIV contaminated medicine to hemophiliacs in these other countries. It's all about the money.
Yeah, the doctor who did her surgery was a woman, and she was knocking them out like 10 a week because she was trying to, I don't know exactly what it was she was trying to accomplish, but she was trying to make a name for herself, and she was doing like 10 or 12 of these surgeries a week, and she got some kind of promotion or something at a hospital to be a teaching doctor or something like that. But boy, she really messed up a bunch of people, and that stuff is really bad, really bad.
Well, I'm sorry that
anybody's thinking about getting any of that used, just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about selling product and making money. And sometimes you do have to go to a doctor, like when Claire hurt her back earlier this year. We couldn't even get in to see her doctor for something like 30 days. We didn't know what she was dealing with.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you for the phone.
Best to you and Claire. You guys have a great holiday.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. We've got to take a break for station identification. We have another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective, and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, the history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha America, welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to take a phone call now from Glenn in Philadelphia. Aloha, Glenn. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? I'm getting a lot of noise here. This is not a clean connection.
Mike, can you hear me? I think I got it now.
Okay, I hear you now. Yes. What's on your mind today?
That was really weird. Mike, I have a bottle of toilet bowl cleaner that I picked up at the dollar store, and right on the label it says effective on Escherichia coli, typhus, dysentery, and extraterrestrial Andromeda strain Enterovac.
Well, somebody's got a sense of humor.
NASA pays way too much if they said a couple bottles of this stuff and a couple dollar store toilet brushes. None of this would be had.
Well, I don't know how successful they would be with the toilet brush in weightlessness here. The issue isn't the bacteria that are there now. The concern is that in that weightless environment, they appear to be mutating more rapidly than would be the case here on Earth.
Right. I never pictured the Andromeda strain getting to Earth this way, But anyway, I had one other more controversial thought, and that is, I don't know about you, but it seems to me things in the media are getting like very murky now. With this stuff going on with Ukraine and Russia and the whole boat incident, and that's being the various contradictory stories about the boat incident being told, and the stuff with Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the U.S. Everything's waters are very muddy right now. And I, for one, am a bit frustrated about all this constant hype about the Khashoggi assassination, which is horrific. It's horrible. Well, what about all the Yemenis and Sudanese who are being killed, and all these Shiites from poor Muslim African countries being killed off by Sunnis? I mean, this is an internecine war on poor people with the wrong religious doctrine. And yet they're focused on one man, Khashoggi, and yet these other people are dying by the thousands. It's just unconscionable not to address this.
Well, like I said, I think the thing with Khashoggi was an effort to force Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman from power, and it's failed. And the primary reason it failed is Trump is standing with him or with Saudi Arabia. And he was very honest. He came on out and he said, look, Saudi Arabia buys a lot of stuff from us. They buy a lot of weapons. And if we put pressure on the Saudi government, they'll just go buy things from Russia and China. Apparently, there is actually a nuclear reactor deal that's being set up between the United States and Saudi Arabia for 16 nuclear power plants. So that's a lot of money there.
Yeah. Right. And those things never produce a penny of profit. They're always operating in the red, and dangerously so as well. But as to the Ukrainian thing, I heard, I thought it was downright plausible that incident could have been deliberately fomented by Poroshenko so that he could declare martial law and not have to face being kicked out in an election. Because he's, the story is that he's fixing to get his posterior waxed in an election.
Yes.
So instead he finds a way to institute martial law. That sounds very plausible to me. And yet today, I spoke with a guest on another program this morning who's a, very Russophobic anti-communist, and he maintains that the situation in Ukraine is far more convoluted, and Poroshenko is really a Russian agent. All this, it sounds very foolish. I mean, to the people in Donetsk and Luhansk, this is all very real, and this idea that somehow Russia is now the aggressor, when the Ukrainians have been lining up all sorts of artillery and mechanized armor and troops against Donetsk and Luhansk. I'm having a real hard time buying, any theory that somehow what's going on internally in Ukraine is a Russian plot. It just
that's what the corporate media is trying to sell. That this is all Russian aggression. That Russia stole these Ukrainian votes and had no justification for doing so. When anybody who's actually looked at how this all came down understands these two gunboats and tugboat from Ukraine went through the Kerch Straits into the Azov Sea, did not respond to a challenge to explain why they were there, tried to evade when they were confronted by Russian vessels, leading to one having to ram the other. So it was a provocation. There's no question about that.
That sounds like it to me. And yet this fellow was insisting that these boats were just navigating through the strait, minding their own business, and these big mean Russians came up and assaulted them. And it's like, man, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing Russia, Iran, Syria, or Yemen as aggressing on anyone at the moment. The aggression seems to be coming from elsewhere.
Okay. I'm watching on Fox News now, and everybody's blaming each other. U.S. is blaming Russia for the conflict. Putin is saying it was Ukraine's fault. this could really turn into something really ugly. And again, certainly Poroshenko is going to try and take advantage of this to either increase his standing in the polls or, again, call off the election. But I really do think this was all about getting an actual conflict going with Russia and, getting the war going.
Well, the vote thing seems fairly clear cut. Where exactly were they? Period. Were they infringing upon, a naval military harbor, of the Russians? Were they, going under this bridge where they shouldn't have been there? Or were they simply navigating out in the strait where they had a right to be? That seems to be the real issue to determine that, but we're not going to know.
Well, the issue, the issue for the Russians is the Azov Sea is their territorial waters, and other countries are allowed to come in and sail around there to visit the various ports and harbors. But there are some rules. You have to basically say, hi, we're from wherever they're coming from, and we're going to sail through the Kerch Straits, and we're headed for this port. And these 3 ships from Ukraine simply did not do that. They simply charged right on through, and they had to know the Russians were going to respond to that.
Right. So, like even here on RBN, there are various different perspectives. But I mean, this fellow who was on today, he's a rabid, beware the commies. They're all lying low in Belarus. They're going to come out and surprise, get you, and be very Russophobic. Be very, very Russophobic. And I'm just growing weary of all the false crisis. Quite annoying. So, all right, sir. Thank you. Take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to let you go. We're going to do a shout out to our Honor affiliates just now rejoining the network, and we're going to take another call from Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I just got home, had surgery done on my shoulder today. So for all of you been asking, I made it home okay.
Good.
I'm fine. But something I noticed, for the past week, about every 2 days, I would get a phone call. Have you put your medical records online? Finally, about 3 days ago, I had to break down and Friday, I had to break down and tell them, stop calling me about this because I'm not putting my medical records online. And when they ask why, well, it's pretty simple. We constantly hear about people's ID being stolen on the internet when they're using their credit cards to buy things. Well, lo and behold, as I was on my way this morning, headed to the surgery center to have my shoulder operated on today, as we was driving into town, into Augusta, we heard on the radio that some company that deals with medical records, well, guess what? It's just been hacked.
Yep.
And they wonder why I don't want to put my medical records on the internet. But I've noticed also at the same time, while some places are willing to respect your desire to keep your private records private, there are those out there that are insisting that you cannot get medical procedures unless you put your information on the internet. Somehow we've got to fight back against this. So maybe this is something to look at, and maybe see if we can come up with some ideas of how we resist this push to put our medical records on the internet. And if we don't, we're denied service.
Well, that is pretty strict. If I recall correctly, and I'm going from memory here, but I think as part of the Affordable Care Act, there was a mandate for the computerization of all medical records. And I'm against that for 3 reasons. One, because these medical servers do get hacked. They get hit with ransomware, and doctors can't get to your medical records to find out what treatments you've had or need to have next. The second issue, of course, is the issue of privacy. And the third one, of course, is a lot of this data is being mined and harvested for targeted advertising, for medical sales and so forth. So I understand that having the records on the computer is very fast and rapid and convenient, But I would like to see like a paper backup.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of pushback because this desire to go completely digital, I think, is a really, really bad idea, especially for people like me who are proactive in protecting our information.
Yep.
We need some kind of pushback against this so that we ensure that people like myself are able to use paper records and not be compelled to risk our medical data to just anybody out there looking to do no good. Thanks, Mike, and you have a great one, man.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open again. And let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Apparently there was a major riot in central Kiev. 200 nationalist militants took over an entire shopping mall. The police made one arrest. Okay, let's get on back to the PC arena, as it were. Believe it or not, the Dorchester Historical Society, okay, was forced to pull an ad for Christmas because the snowflakes got offended. And the ad basically said simply, "Dreaming of a White Dorchester," which was obviously an homage to White Christmas, and was one of several ads that changed the words of famous and traditional Christmas songs to include Dorchester. Another one of the ads read, "May your Dorchesters be merry and bright." But apparently the snowflakes said the ads were racist. Apparently the offending word was white. Well, I hate to be the one to break it to you. Snow is white, for the most part. Now, as we are coming up on Christmas, once again, we're hearing the debate start up. Should people say Merry Christmas or simply say Happy Holidays to be more inclusive? And there's this idea of being inclusive. Let's be honest. Christmas is a religious holiday. It is intended for Christians. And there isn't necessarily a need to be inclusive to people who do not follow that religion. So I think this idea of saying Happy Holiday and so forth went overboard, way over the shark. And now the other one, of course, is when you have an office Christmas party, should that be called a holiday party? Well, yeah, because there you have more of, shall we say, a captured audience. Now you're really going to like this one. Apparently, over at Villa Rica Middle School in Temple, in an art room, there was a girl who was very upset. This happened in Georgia. And another student, another girl, just gave her a comforting hug and was immediately written up by school officials for inappropriate displays of affection. And so the mother went on TV to basically say, this really is getting ridiculous. Now, fortunately, it was the punishment was a written notification. You do not do this. It amounted to a warning here. But what are they doing to our kids in those schools? We already know what Common Core was doing there. This draconian, not allowed to touch. The student was upset. This other student wanted merely to comfort. They were both girls. Nothing sexual about it. School administrators, they just got in high dudgeon. All right, over in New Mexico, the CDC has confirmed yet another case of this mysterious polio-like disease that we dare not call polio. and acute flaccid myelitis. That's what we're going to call it this time. And still trying to find out where it's coming from, or at least confirm that it's not coming from the polio vaccine, which seems to actually work. Now, this one is going to get kind of a lot of people thinking. Apparently, as you know, there is no one Bible. There are different variations of the Bible. There's the King James, what most of us were raised with. The Schofield Bible, the new, I think there's about like 10 or 20. I haven't been keeping count. There's a new one out, though, and it's called the Woman's Bible. And it was the brainchild of two theology professors from Switzerland. It started being sold last month. So this Lauriane Savoy and Elizabeth Parmentier of the University of Geneva joined forces with 18 other women, half of them Catholic, the rest varying denominations of Protestants, to create a version of the Bible that is applicable in the age of the hashtag #MeToo movement. And one of the things that they're doing is challenging traditional interpretations. I wonder if they'll clear up that misunderstanding about Jesus' bride, his wife, Mary Magdalene. Down in Florida, Raimundo Attiasano, the former police chief of Biscayne Park, Florida, is being sent to prison for 3 years for framing 3 innocent black men. And Attiasano told a federal judge that, yes, he made some bad decisions, but he basically directed his officers to frame innocent men in a series of unsolved burglaries. And apparently he did it to please community leaders and to boost property values up by making it look like crime was being taken down. So he got 3 years for that one here. Okay, we're coming up on another commercial break here. We have a caller waiting on the line when we get on back here. And get our show finished up here. I'm still thinking about that Johnson & Johnson story. That really makes me angry. We'll be back after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations. A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did. The towers in New York.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we've got a couple of callers on the line here. Let's start with Al in West Virginia. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Hey, I just wanted to, you jump back to the school thing. I just found out here a couple of weeks ago that we have high school students, boys, that wear dresses to school, and they allow it. But you can't wear a T-shirt that has a gun, says Winchester or something on it.
Yeah. It's a messed up world.
And then they also, it is, and I can't believe it's happening here in West Virginia. As macho as West Virginians have always been, it's just unbelievable to me. I thought they was kidding me. No, it's true. Then I found out also that they have sleepovers once or twice a year with the girls and the boys all together, where they like a slumber party type thing. So that's all I have for you, but I just thought I'd bring that out there. I don't know what's going on in these other states, but I couldn't believe it when I heard it, about these boys wearing dresses to school,
Yeah, that's, and in some states, students who claim to be the opposite gender are being allowed to use the showers and locker rooms. So you have girls using the boys' locker room and boys using the girls' locker room.
Absolutely. Right, absolutely. That tells you we've been infiltrated by another group somewhere.
Well, it's just liberalism gone wild. It really is. Anyway, thank you for the phone call, Al. We're going to switch over to Rick in Arizona. Aloha, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How am I coming in?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. Okay, Roger Stone is on my mind. Have you ever heard of the term a Marxian victim?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, a Marxian victim is somebody who blames his enemies for what he is doing. Okay, now, who is Roger Stone? Roger Stone is on a network that's fighting the globalists, right? Now, where was Roger Stone in the 1970s? He was with Nixon and Kissinger hoping and helping to open up China. Now, who is the globalist? Now, I watched an episode of Hawaii Five-0 about 3 months ago from the old days, where Steve McGarrett was investigating a rare art smuggling ring.
Yep.
The head of the ring planted a piece of evidence in the possession of Steve McGarrett, and the mafia tried to make Steve McGarrett look like he was the smuggler behind the smuggling. And this is what Roger Stone and InfoWars and everybody's going after Mueller. They're trying to make Mueller look like the criminal. It's called the Marxian victim scenario. So
I think you're taking, first of all, we call it projection here. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Mueller's investigation was inappropriately started. It's not in compliance with the special counsel statute. He's gone for almost 2 years now, millions of dollars. He has found nothing. It is a witch hunt, and it is time for it to go away.
Okay. All right. I'll make one more comment and I'll hang up. How do we know he's found nothing? Now, Donald Trump could not own a casino in Nevada because he had too many organized crime connections. So it is fair to say that whatever they're investigating, if they don't have nothing, they have nothing. But Nevada would not let Trump come to town. Okay? So I don't tell me that there's nothing there. There could be.
Rick,
so
Rick, okay, that's a fishing expedition. Mueller was supposed to be looking into Trump-Russia collusion. That is the issue. And whatever Trump did years and years ago, and I'm sure if we looked into your background, we'd find something that you're probably not too proud of. That's true with pretty much everybody. But Mueller was supposed to be looking into the issue of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. He didn't find it. And if they'd found anything, they would have gone public with it right before the midterms to help the Democrats.
We'll see who has the last laugh, Mueller or Trump. Okay, thanks for taking my call, Mike.
All right. Thanks for the call. We're going to let you go. You know, we've been hearing this thing. Don't you wait. Don't get impatient. Mueller's coming out with a report. It will be devastating. I saw one of those just this last Monday. You know, Mueller's about to come out with a report. It's going to be terrible. Okay. On that very topic, apparently Trump is considering a pardon for Manafort. So we'll see what happens on that one. All right, we're coming up here on another commercial break, and we'll be right back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slows circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $400? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsite.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Many people write about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. My wife and I both use Extendivite and are very pleased with the results. It has helped to stabilize our blood pressure and to make both of us feel healthier. Good product and good buy. So far, so good. I've been taking Extendivite 3 times a day, only a short while now, but already I've noticed the circulation in my hands and feet improving. They tingle. I like the idea of taking something herbal rather than pills. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And as I mentioned going into the commercial break, the story is breaking all over, actually. It was on Fox and everything, that President Trump is saying that he might consider a presidential pardon for Paul Manafort, his former campaign chairman. Manafort is in prison for some crimes, and apparently had a plea deal with Robert Mueller's investigation. That plea deal has now apparently, as of Monday, fallen apart, because apparently Manafort was caught once again lying to the investigators. So it's a mess, and already we're seeing media like The Hill is out there saying this would be it. We can impeach Donald Trump for this. We could get a conviction for this. So I'm presuming Trump's lawyers are going to say basically the same thing. And it is a bit of a mess out there. What can I tell you? Down in Texas, lawmakers are trying to put through a bill, House Bill 357, the constitutional carry bill, which would no longer require gun owners to complete the process for a handgun license in order to carry their weapons in public. It's legal, open carry. And I'm glad to see more and more of these states are standing up for the rights of gun owners, which means we can expect a faked mass shooting at any time here. Okay, let's see. The other day we were talking about this terrible, terrible tragedy. Lion Air flight with a Boeing 737, Lion Air Flight 610. And apparently before it actually crashed into the Java Sea, data recovered from the black box is saying this airplane went into a nosedive more than 20 times. And apparently the anti-stall sensors repeatedly tripped off, saying the plane was on the verge of stalling, and the autopilot would put the plane into a dive to pick up airspeed. So these angle of attack sensors measure how well the plane's nose is positioned against the oncoming air. The sensors malfunction, pushing the aircraft's nose down 24 times in the span of just 10 minutes. That must have been a horrific experience for those poor people. And according to the investigating authorities, they're saying that the flight crew literally were fighting continuously to keep the plane level until the final crash. Alrighty. Interesting little story that came on out. Apparently, between 6,000 and 10,000 churches in the U.S. close every single year. It's running an average of about 100 every single week. And people are saying, well, why is that? And there are a variety of reasons why that could be happening. Less rural populations to support small town churches, more people moving into the urban centers. More people are getting their religion over the television set. But the fact is that religion itself is declining. People just aren't buying into this anymore. And I think a big part of it has to do, of course, with all these scandals about priests sexually molesting children. That's not going to help your image. And I think as hard as religion tries to stay relevant, by its very nature, it's terribly out of sync with the 21st century world. So it is a problem out there. Okay. Apparently, according to half of America's Human Resources Department, opioids are affecting their workforce. People are being prescribed these opioids. They're coming to work. They're basically buzzed on the medication, and it's affecting job performance here. Okay. Apparently, there is a story here just put up by one of the members. A mysterious radioactive heat source is melting Antarctica from below. Well, take that, Mr. Al Gore here. And they're basically saying that they have discovered this radioactive source. Now, it may be a heat plume from the Earth's core. They're all over the Earth. They're called hotspots. We have one right here in Hawaii. And we know that a great part of the Earth's internal temperature is coming from naturally occurring radioactive fission or decay. Geologists have actually identified deposits of uranium that at some time in the past were undergoing fission. So it's definitely possible. And it may well be that there's a huge upswelling of the mantle underneath Antarctica, and it brought a huge amount of radioactivity with it. So that could be one interesting little story. But next time they say that your plastic bags are melting Antarctica, just say, nope, nope. There's something down there, radioactive, very, very hot. Okay, here's another story, and it's about more and more government basically deciding for us what we can and cannot have. Now, I grew up in an age where, you know, you did what you wanted. You ate what you wanted to eat. You drank what you wanted to drink. And yes, people smoked. My grandfather smoked. My mother smoked. It did catch up with her. And there was a time when smoking became a socially engineered target of government health nannies. And everybody said, okay, we got to do this because, yeah, it involves health. But once they got started, they start going after everything. The government health nannies are after fat, sugar, caffeine. Now there's a war on soda. We drive around here, and there are these commercials being run. The campaign is called Rethink Your Drink, and it's all about quitting the sugary sodas and shifting to water, which I admit is a good thing. And I don't drink sugary sodas anymore. I haven't for many, many years. But now the experts are saying there needs to be a war on meat, on steak. And the way they're going to enforce it is by putting on a 160% meat tax anytime you want a steak or a hamburger, or bacon with breakfast, or craving a ham sandwich. So basically, the idea is to regulate red and processed meat consumption, similar to other carcinogens and foods for public health concerns. And of course, this is going to be an economic disaster for farmers and ranchers. 160%. So, anyway, we're getting yet another warning from the Russians that ISIS is going to launch a false flag chemical attack on the Syrian Kurds. Russia says they're monitoring the situation, and they're saying that ISIS terrorists are plotting to shell Kurdish-led militia with chemical-filled munitions in Deir ez-Zor. And they want to frame Damascus for the attack to trigger new U.S.-led airstrikes. Well, that might get very, very interesting. We're going to get a chance to see just how good those S-300 missiles are. Anyway. Apparently, the Federal Reserve is warning that there will be a drop in asset prices, and it might be particularly large. This is another one of these warnings where this crisis we're coming up on is probably going to be the worse than the one we saw in 2008. So again, get yourself prepared for this. It's going to be a rough one. Germany's apparently implementing new internet hate speech crackdown. They're going to force social media sites to delete offensive content. Now the problem is, who gets to decide what is offensive? Because different people are offended by different things. There's absolutely nothing that you can say that will not offend somebody somewhere on this planet. So, alrighty, let's see. Apparently, there's been a bit of a dust-up regarding Paul Manafort and Julian Assange, and a story that had them meeting each other, which Manafort denied, and apparently there was a mix-up at The Guardian. Oh, we have a caller waiting on the line here. Mark in New York, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Good evening or good afternoon. I hope Claire is getting well very soon, especially for the holidays.
Well,
and I called. What, please?
I was saying, you know, we're
the fall.
Yeah, the fall was terrible, and this is also, of course, the time of year when we have to get Claire's choirs ready for Christmas. So
I was thinking about that. I had something else to ask about her choir.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, because I know I used to be involved in holiday pageants when I was younger. The busiest time of the year between Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, she had to stay home
Christmas.
She had to stay home last Sunday, and I did the conducting.
Oh, wow, I'm impressed. But I called the other night. I actually was surprised last night when I heard myself talking. I was like, I went off on China a little bit too much. And I know your show is a little. It's about you're able to talk about how the countries are. It's not about the people. How they're managed. And and what the governments are doing, and I kind of started busting on the Chinese, and I just wanted to offer. I didn't mean to scramble anybody's jets, you know, about talking about Chinese and the people are whatever it was. I don't want to repeat it, but I thought I'd just say a couple of nice things. I was just looking at China and stuff, and say like the Chinese are great. I just read that they were the cradle. They're considered the cradle of civilization. And Americans, they love their food. The movies are great. You know, they're competitive in the Olympics. Their women are. Did I already say their women are beautiful? Their actresses are great. In the military movies are going to make some great movies and so on. So I wanted just to mention that. You know, that's about it. But they also could be the gravest civilization if they're not careful about it. Because I do know there are a lot of adopted daughters. The history with women in that country, you'd be surprised that the feminists aren't screaming more about this. they started with the women. I understand that it's like 2-to-1 men to women in that country, and they also send a lot over here to be adopted from the orphanages over there. There are many in the city that I see.
Yeah.
But they're great people, and they're but they're leaders, and it's an ego thing, which leads me to what about the religion. Like I like Lao Tzu and the Taoism. I was just listening to Stuart Wilde. I stumbled onto his YouTube thing called 33 Laws or something.
Yeah.
It's great. I also like Eckhart Tolle in religion. A long time ago, I listened to Roy Masters, who said, too many people are into the letter of religion and not understand. His point was it should open up an understanding, and then that's it. You don't need to be following the letter. It should be keeping your mind. And I was listening to Keeping Your Mind in Shape, and then Stuart Little was saying the same thing with ego, resentment, and it's all about that. And it's the stream through many of the spiritual aspects of religion. And religion to me is more today, it's like the dogma and the politics, which may be what's turning you off.
Well, the issue is not whether I'm turned off about it or not. It's a general overall trend. But the numbers are not lying in terms of the number of churches that are closing down in the country. And it's probably a wide variety of factors. And I've noticed certainly locally here, the demographics of the church population are definitely swinging upward in age. They're not able to get the young people to come in as much as they used to.
I wonder if they, like me, if they found through online alternative things, because on YouTube you can find plenty of spiritual things and that kind of thing, whether it's an audio book or a lecture or something like that. So the church is, but it is the togetherness at a church, the community that you get from any church is, I think, can be valuable.
That's what Claire values most about her church. Excuse me
and so did I in the past somewhat. But some of these churches, they're a little stiffer, and the people are, you can tell they're not really, it's not all about the spiritualism. It's something else that they're feeling themselves. But I don't want to judge. That's another thing. Next to being resentful is judging and everything else like that. But another thing I heard, I wasn't making a point, though, and just one other point about the California thing that I meant the other night, that if you take away California in the 2016 election, the voting is pretty much Trump won. But with California, that gave him the popular vote. That pushed him over that popular vote for 3 million. That the media keeps saying he won the popular vote. But without California, everything would be in Trump's favor.
I think you've got it kind of backwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. Trump won through the Electoral College. And the big issue is how many illegals voted, because we know that a lot of people did. The Democrats weren't even trying to hide it during the midterms. They were just bringing them in and just cranking out the votes as fast as they could.
But the sanctuary city, like even every town, I just started getting on a rant around here in my town about, I went to pay a parking ticket, and I go in there, and this is the first time I've ever been in there. They have a Spanish-speaking
Okay, unfortunately,
interpreter.
Mark, I got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. owner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today here. And this political correctness stuff has really gone over the top. Apparently, according to fantasy author Andy Duncan, J.R.R. Tolkien was racist because he created this universe of Middle-earth where there were obviously some groups of creatures who were better than others. Elves at the top, orcs at the bottom. That's racist. It's promoting racism. I think this is just plain silly. This stuff is just plain silly. Now, you need to understand the historical context. J.R.R. Tolkien got started writing, creating these little short stories and drawings to send to his son, who was serving in the military and appreciated the entertainment and shared them with his fellow soldiers. And that's where Tolkien's reputation kind of got started. And it was the Father Christmas letters. So after the war was all over, he started working, first of all, on The Hobbit, and then beyond that, of course, his much larger work, The Lord of the Rings, which was a more or less metaphorical retelling of World War II. And yes, in war, there are the good guys, there are the bad guys. And it just seems in this day and age, liberalism has just reached a point where everything is being criticized, not for what it says, but how it says it. Can't say White Christmas. Oh, and by the way, I got an email from somebody up in Canada who says, yes, it's snowing up there right now, and yes, the snow is white. Deal with it. Mother Nature is racist. Who knew all this time? So it's almost like we're being distracted from thinking about important things by having our heads loaded up with all of this nonsense. We're being told that we have to be, on guard about what we're saying. We've got to take care of other people's feelings. We can't touch. We can't. I think it's just keeping us busy, giddy. Shakespeare wrote it in Henry IV Parts 2. Make it your business to keep giddy minds busy. Keep the ordinary people just totally taken up with useless paperwork, regulatory compliance, so they don't think too much about what's going on. And as we are getting closer and closer to what appears to be a global war, we need to start paying attention. We really, really do need to start paying attention to what is going on around us in the world. Stop having such thin skin about things like Merry Christmas. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. And stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. And please take what you learn here and share it with everybody that you know. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.